Take off?
Take off.
All right, here we go.
Thank you, Jesus.
Hope to wrap up today our final session on goal setting.
Yes, sir.
Let's go back a little bit. Goal setting in relation to just life, kingdom life, whatever life you want. What I like about this information, or just what we're talking about, it applies to anything. It applies to anything. If you set a goal as to what you want to do, if you say you want to learn about the kingdom of God, you want to be specific, something measurable, attainable, realistic. Give yourself a time as to when you want to have it done. I remember Kara and I, we sat and talked about buying a car. We were specific. Then we kept talking and narrowed it down to what kind of car, measurable, attainable, realistic. Gave ourselves a time frame, done it. It happens. That's the way it goes in life. Some things have happened in my life that I didn't set goals for, but I do remember I didn't set a time for it, so to speak. I remember one day I rose up and said I was going to walk away from religion, and I found out the Bible wasn't about religion, that God wasn't about religion. I began to pursue something, and I didn't know it was goal setting, but looking back now on it, I set a goal. And I definitely didn't put a time to it because I didn't know how long it would take me. But I can tell you the journey has been at least over 15 years to get here. And most people won't set a goal for 15 years out to be somewhere or to do something. Because we want it when? Now. And we don't set goals as 5 years. What do you see yourself looking like? What do you see yourself doing? I love to do this to the young ladies on the job. Where do you see yourself? You got this job now. What do you see yourself? What do you want to do? And if you start setting goals just for your life, we live in this area. What do you want to do in this area in 5 years? What do you want to be doing? What do you want it to look like? Realistically, and putting steps to it. I remember when Karen and I wrote these goals, we had to sit down and put steps to action, as they call them, action plans. In other words, what you're going to do. You just can't say what you're going to do and not write forth a plan as to how you're going to get it done, because it ain't going to happen. Right. Everything starts with a plan. I know what I want to do. This is how I plan to do it. I'm going to go to Richmond in the morning. How you going to go? You're going to go in a car, you're going to go to the bus, you're going to go on a bike. If you're going to go on a bike, you know it's going to take you longer, so you might ought to get up earlier. Yeah. So it's like your goal setting sets you a time as to when. I remember telling one young lady on the job, my whole objective was to get to the point where I understood what Jesus said in St. John 14, 11, and 12. Whatever he did, we could do. So I set myself a goal that by the end of the year, even if I couldn't do it, I wanted to be closer to understanding it and doing it than I was 5, 6, 7, 2, 3 years prior to learning what I should have done. And so I got specific. My specific goal and specific task was to do what Jesus said I can do. I can't be no more specific than that. Yeah. That's what my goal was. So what are you going to, my wife and I had the same conversation last night. It's strange that she brought it up last night, but I had just sat on the edge of the bed and go, not why other people are not doing what Jesus done. The question is, why can't you do it? Right. If you say you're his child. Why can't you do it? What's in the way? What's hindering? And it came back to me again, because the more I sat, the more I thought about it, the answer keeps coming back. How much do you love him? How much do you love him? Do you love him with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, all your strength? Can you honestly answer that question realistically and say, yes, I do? Most of us probably what? Yeah. Don't. If we be honest.
Right.
If we're going to be honest and build a relationship and be honest, no, most of us don't. There's other things that got our attention, other things that's got us going. Excuse me. Right about now, and Jesus is not it.
No. Right.
All right?
Yes, sir.
And one of the things we were learning about dominion, as we was talking about dominion a couple weeks ago, out of the book that we're studying, is when you can't walk in dominion and blame at the same time. They don't go together. If you're blaming folks, blaming things, blaming this, blaming that, you're not walking in dominion. Because if you're walking in dominion, you won't blame. You see the correlation between the two? Adam, again, look into the story of Adam and Eve in the garden, and you don't see nowhere where Adam was blaming anyone when he was walking in dominion. It was when he started walking in sin. And when Eve sinned, that they started what? Pointing fingers.
You did this. You
did this. Mm-hmm. She did that. Mm-hmm. He did that. Mm-hmm. And if you look at our lives, that's what we do in life. Mm-hmm. When we're not walking in dominion, we start talking, well, he did this. And he ain't doing right. That one ain't happening. And that's going on. No, you're not walking in dominion. So when you don't walk in dominion, you walk in blame.
Yes.
You're acting like a victim, they call it. You're becoming the victim and not the victor. You're not walking in the victory that he said you can walk in. Mm-hmm. Because when you do, think about it. You won't have time to blame.
Right.
You walk with your head up high.
Right.
Only when you're living in sin, you blame others for the
It's not so much as sin. It's when you're not walking in dominion. You got however way you like to take it. Uh-huh. The question is, you cannot walk in dominion. I hope I'm spelling it right. D-O-M-I-N. I-O-N?
N-I-O-N.
D-O-M-I-N-I-O-N, I think. Dominion versus blame.
okay.
Just look at it from that angle.
All right.
And look at it and you can put the reasons of why you're not doing it. It could be whatever. Mm-hmm. But when you don't do both. Mm-hmm. Is what I'm trying to say. You don't do both. You don't walk in dominion and blame, or you don't walk in blame and walk in dominion. Okay. They don't go together. Because you're either doing one or the other. It's just that simple. Mm-hmm. And when you're doing it from that angle, looking at it from that angle, which one should you be walking in?
Dominion.
Yeah. Which is the Greek Hebrew word mamlaka, the Greek word kingdom. Mm-hmm. Kingdom living. Yep. Set some goals. What are you going to do to get yourself here? Be specific. Where are you trying to go? Yeah. I know where I'm trying to go. Mm-hmm. And I'm not. This happened to me Friday. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. This lady is supposed to be demented, but she's with it enough. I walk in her room, and she looks up at me, and she said, "That man walks in confidence right there." Yeah.
What is she demented?
Demented? I walk into the room, she looks up at me, and I'm smiling, I'm playing with her, and she looks at me, and she just looks over at her daughter, and she said, you know why he smiles the way he smiles? This man walks in confidence. Mm-hmm. And he knows what he wants and where he's trying to go. Yes. And I said that. All I said was, yes, ma'am, I do.
And she had that much mind to do that.
She had that. See, I know where I'm trying to go. And I'm not even trying to get people to believe me or come with me. Or I could care less if you follow me. I'm going with or without you.
But she just happened to be demented.
She looks up at me and she said, he smiles the way he smiles and does what he does because he walks in confidence. Wow. And I just
demented woman.
I just laughed. I said, yes, ma'am, I sure do. Because I know where I'm going. I know what I want. Mm-hmm. I know. The other thing I know, I've seen the other side.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Let's just be honest. I've seen the other side. Mm-hmm. All it made me was promises.
Right.
And when you get to heaven, no, that's not.
Heaven should be.
I'm trying to get heaven down here. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to get heaven pie in the sky. I just commented on a guy there on Facebook who was saying that people, the Bible brings forth confusion. No, the Bible don't bring forth confusion. It's your misconception of the Bible. Your misunderstanding of what the Bible is saying brings confusion. If you understood what it was about, you wouldn't be confused. You're confused because you're trying to tie religion and a kingdom together, and you know you're going to get one consequence that is confusion, because one has nothing to do with the other.
Greek word is shame.
Yeah.
I learned that one.
Confusion, that's right. You're going to be shamed. You're going to be ashamed. You're going to be confused when you're trying to mix them together because they don't go together. I don't care who told you they did, they lied to you. So, in goal setting, specific, measurable, attainable we found out last week is possible. Is it possible for you to live in dominion? Is it possible for you to live a life where you speak and things happen? Is that possible?
Yes.
Yes. That's not impossible. Impossible means you can't get there.
You don't have no idea. You can't think.
You can't. You have the faintest of idea. I'm gonna tell you what I know is impossible for me. To right now get out here and run all the way to Gold Hill Road, 90 miles per hour.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even make that as a goal. Because that ain't possible.
Right.
I ain't got a 6.0 up my behind. That ain't possible. What I also think is impossible is for me to sit and eat a whole elephant in one setting. I couldn't even eat a baby elephant. I'm talking about attainable. Is it possible? If what I just said is possible, the question is, what goals do you have to get you there? That is realistic and time frame. How long is it going to take you? I don't want to do this another 20 years before I figure it out. 20 years plus, I'll be 75 by the time I figure it out. That's too long. I want to be walking in it earlier than that. I want to figure, because I started learning about this earlier than that. It's just like when we wrote these goals. We didn't put 20 years, we're going to develop more as spiritual leaders. We got to work on that right away. Spending quality time with spouse. Man, you get married, you're going to spend quality time with your spouse, but you're going to figure out how to do it for 20 years. Did you? No, this is our personal. You can write your. We're just showing people what we did, how we set and we wrote our own goals, and what we wanted. So in other words, goals are what do you want. Then we start saying what were we going to do individually. We wrote goals as individual goals. We wrote family goals, and every once in a while you had to go back and revisit them and see. Yesterday we took a nice walk. It wasn't in the park. It was a hike. First time going hiking. So we Karen and I were looking at what's the hindrance that's stopping you from getting these attaining the things that we wrote that we want to do, eating at the table. What are some of the hindrances that prevent you from eating at the table?
I won't say it's a bad hindrance.
I didn't say bad hindrance. I'm saying what gets in the way to stop the family from eating at the table?
It could be your job.
Home.
It could be late getting home.
From
certain things.
Many of things could be the reason. So when you make the goal, you have to be realistic. Vivid. I like that. Let me give you some definition of the word realistic. I thought it was interesting when I was looking at the word. Vivid. Got my attention.
Precise.
Yes. Because if it's vivid, that means you can what?
See it.
You can see it. I see myself eating at the table with my children. So now you got to put some steps. I'm going to cut out on the TV because if I let them watch TV, they ain't going to come to the table. If I ain't going to be out there every night trying to do stuff because I'm going to make it a night where we're going to sit at the table, dead gummit, whether you want to or not. So you start moving things out of the way because it becomes a priority because it's vivid. This one got my mind pictorial. You can picture it. You can see it. Can you see yourself laying hands on folk and they're getting delivered? Picture that in your head. Vivid. Can you see yourself waking up in the morning and God directing you to people that need help? Vividly, I can see that in my head, in the back of my. That's why when I wrote my mission statement, when I started my work was to have what's going on in heaven manifested on the earth. Because in the back of my head, I already see that picture. That's what they say artists do. When an artist paints, you don't see what he sees. In the back of his head, he's already seen that picture. So when he starts out on the canvas, he's writing, he's painting what he's already seen. You don't see it till you just saw a shape that he drew a phase in. But in the back of his mind, he has already pictured vividly what he wanted to do. Goal setting. Attainable, realistic. It's possible. I can do this. And what time frame? When will I be done with this? When will I be able to put a time to what it is I'm trying to do?
2 months?
1 month, 2
week,
months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Realistically, how long is it going to take me, and what do I have to do to get there?
Steps there.
Some steps to get me there. Last night, when you said in your mind you were coming here, realistically, you saw yourself sitting here. Everything else was in between to get you there. Don't tell me we don't know how to do this. We do it all the time on a small scale.
Right. Don't have to
In the morning, I know I got to be in Richmond for 7 o'clock. I already see that in my head. So what if I get up at 6:45? I don't see myself. But because I see myself, I know what I have to do. So what do? I start putting stuff in place that will get me there. You can't fill up the car on the way there as we just have. See, you got to move all of the things out of the way that will stop you from getting where you got to go. Because you got to be there you got a time.
That'll cut you back.
That'll cut you. It'll hinder. Oh, now I want to be there for 7, but I got to stop and get gas. No, you should have got the gas yesterday because you saw in your mind, you pictured in the back of your mind what you wanted to do. So you moved all the hindrances. Now, if something happened that you didn't prepare for, that's totally different. But still in the back of your head, I do it so much. It is amazing. I'm gonna tell you how I do it. Because sometimes I'm catching the bus in the BART, and in the back of my mind, I want to get there I want to be there for 7:45, and the bus running late there, and all I can hear in the back of my head, keep moving, keep going, and lo and behold, even though the train held up the bus, the BART was running late. All of these things, traffic, I still make it for 7:45. You know why? I just kept moving.
That's how I was able to get here. I kept moving.
You got to keep on moving.
That's right.
Oh, I ain't gonna make it. I ain't gonna make it on time.
Prepare yourself.
Stop preparing myself for this.
Prepare.
Start doing it.
I ain't gonna make it on time. So I'm all mad, frustrated, but I just sit there and I just keep saying to myself, keep moving. Because you've seen this rodeo before. Keep going, and next thing you know, something happens. Bam! I get there and the bus. See, you know what time. I know what time the shuttle leaves. I done caught them so much, but I got there and the shuttle was running late, and it was pulling up when ain't that about nothing. You don't know what's going to happen, but it won't happen if you what?
Prepare.
If you stop.
Stop.
One thing you can bank on, it will not happen if you. What if I ain't going? And when I'm on my bike, I really calm down because I ain't depending on that shuttle. If you get me at that station for 6:30, I'm gonna make it to the job by 6:45 because it's gonna take me 5 minutes to bike up there. And when I'm doing all of that, the last thing I stop doing is blaming. Because I could have got up a little bit earlier and caught another if you really.
Okay, I got it.
See?
Yeah, right.
Just keep moving.
That's why we blame.
Keep doing. I ain't going to blame the bus driver. I ain't going to blame the bus. Because I could have got on out there a little bit earlier.
That's true.
Then I started looking at what was I doing. And my wife said, why didn't you get your lunch together last night? Did you say that to me, Friday? Because if you had got your lunch together last night, we could have been gone. That could have been 2 minutes.
Yeah,
You'd have shaved off.
It's a difference. 2 minutes.
2 minutes can make a huge difference in anything. Now you're running to catch it versus if you had got there 2 minutes early, you could have walked to catch it.
You didn't say a word.
Why? Why would I say a word? I knew what the answer was. Because in my head, I already knew what I wanted. I didn't follow through.
And then when it don't, we put the blame on somebody else.
Oh, more time we do.
Yeah.
Because we're not doing our part. We're not doing what we're supposed to do.
Right.
Whenever you start blaming, that's why I was talking to my dad. I go, I see, it's very simple to me. Life is very simple. Ain't no need of blaming others and pointing fingers at others. I don't have time for that. Because you won't walk in dominion if you're doing that. I want to straighten out the stuff I need to straighten out in my own life and go ahead and walk in the power and dominion and authority that I have been given. And let's just be honest. He gave us authority over the, how you spell ERTH? What that word is? Earth. Among other things, I'm never trying to control people because he didn't give me dominion over you as a human being. I'm not going to mess with your will. Either you want it, let's just be honest. I don't care what you went to church and heard this morning. Obey him to have quote all them scriptures you want. He never gave you dominion over another person. Look at the things he gave you dominion over and see if the earth is yielding you what you need. Mm-hmm. And if you blaming folks, it's because you're not walking in this. And if you're doing this, you ain't got time to do this because you're busy. Mm-hmm. This is available to everybody. Because he said in the word, though the earth is mine. So, the whole earth, he said, God said is his. So it's not even mine. And my thing that has really freed me for this year, I don't own nothing. I just keep laying in that bed and saying, I don't own it no way. I did not lose my money when I stopped in the real estate. Right. I didn't lose my money because it wasn't mine in the first place. Right. That encouraged me to get back out there and let's go. Yeah. Stop blaming others and talking about what the white man won't let you do, the black man won't let you do it, the dark man. It's you. Yeah. It is you. I know we don't like to know it's us.
No, you know that.
It ain't never us. No. It's always somebody else that's stopping us. But actually, it's you. We stop ourselves. We hinder ourselves. We get in our, because this is wherever your earth is right now, are you walking in dominion? Are you walking in control? Are you walking in authority? I can't answer that. And I can't I don't want control over nobody. It's enough to control me and my thoughts and my way and keeping me straight. Amen. Why you think I get up in the morning and sit on the side of my bed from 30 minutes to 45 to 50 minutes? Because I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to get a hold of me. Yeah. I'm trying to keep me in check and listen to him about me. Right. Talk to him about me. Mac Lee, that's the individual I'm concerned about. I love this woman to death, but she's got to be concerned about her. I prayed for her. She prays for me because I want her to know him for who? Herself. And I know when she's getting it right, you can feel it in the house.
Yeah. Woo. Let
me say that again. I was at my job and I started smiling in the bathroom and I said, God, she's getting close to you again and it feels good to me. Why? Because I'm going to get some help. It's great help to me when she's walking in with him and talking with him. Because I don't have to tell you nothing. He's going to tell you what he wants done. Even if it says help me, even if it don't help me, you're going to help him. Because you have a kingdom that you got to pull down to rule the earth for him in his stead.
Yes, sir.
But when we're waiting on the man, that's what that word single, being single is all about. You becoming that your own unique individual. And it ain't never based, excuse my French, it's never based on what the next person is doing. It's based on what you want to do. Because God will move anything and everything that's hindering you when you're serious. He'll move it. The question is, we don't want it moved. We hang on to it. It ain't producing nothing, but we want it. You know, but hey, again, I don't have no control. I don't have time to really argue with folks, to fight with folk. I'm just learning to let them be, let them go. And you find, and a lot of times, if you don't find what God wants for you, you get in control or in charge, and you're gonna be worse than the person that you was talking about. Case in point. Trump, before president, and I ain't making this up, I can show you the thing. He talked about Barack Obama went golfing and how much money he spent. And already he done spent as much money as Barack Obama did in 8 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Golfing.
Yeah.
At taxpayers' expense. But when he said, if I was president, see, that's how we do.
Yes.
I'm gonna do better if I
Right.
you ain't gonna do no better if you ain't putting some goals in your life and ain't changing things in your life. Put you in there, you gonna be worse could be worse than the person that you replacing.
Yeah.
I don't intend to be worse than so. Because that's what the king does. The king is wanting somebody who will get close to him, carry out his will. And he said, you know what, I'm going to move that person and give it to you. I just want somebody that'll do what I want done in that situation. But you over there fussing at the person that ain't doing it right. But at the same time, you're not preparing yourself to do it better.
Right. Yeah.
Or to be better.
Yeah.
Or to get closer to him so you can find out what he wants. Because that's what the word church means. It's a Greek word which means cabinet. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't look at Donald Trump example of cabinet because it ain't going too well for him right now. But the cabinet ought to know what you all about. Mm-hmm. The cabinet ought to know what you want done. The cabinet shouldn't be surprised that of what you want because you ought to be constantly divulging your ideals, mm-hmm. what you want done.
Yeah.
So that's our goal setting. It ought to be specific. It should be measurable. It should be attainable. It should be realistic. And when will you get it done? How long is it going to take you to get it done? When do you want to be doing it? When do you want to arrive? I love this. I like this. I love this because this applies to kingdom living. It applies to the kingdom of God. It applies to your marriage. It applies to you as a person. Yes. Realistically, let's look at it as in the marriage setting. Realistically, you can't change your spouse, right? Mm-hmm. Husband or wife.
Right.
So it's a unrealistic goal to say I'm gonna make him love me more. Right. No. Mm-hmm. A realistic goal is how you're going to grow, even though you may not be getting what you need. I told my auntie one time, she would like that scripture about the Lord had told me to tell her years ago. You would be like the plant that grows in the desert. Unfavorable conditions for growth. It's dry, no water, very little water, so to speak. But when you can grow and you're not in the realistic conditions, it's God behind your growth.
That's right.
All right? It's God behind your growth. When you put in unrealistic
teach it. That's right.
conditions, no love, nobody supporting you,
yes. Nobody
there for you, but you still growing, that's God behind your growth because you are in an area where you're not supposed to grow. And there is nothing unique about you not growing if you're not growing in that area, but a unique something is something that grows a root out of a root in dry ground is not supposed to grow. What makes a root grow? We all know what makes a
water.
Got to put some water on it. But if it grows and in a dry area, you can rest for sure it is unique.
You got something there.
You got yourself something. Hang on to that plant. That's where we are.
That's right.
Conditions are not favorable for us. But you can't wait till conditions get favorable. You got to grow. I told my daughter, if you and your husband together, you got to grow. If y'all apart, you still got to what? Grow. You still got to grow. Don't blame him for you not growing.
Yeah.
Because you got to grow with or without. You got to become single with or without him. You still got to grow. You stunt your growth when you tie your growth to something. Mine ain't tied to no one. It ain't tied to a church family. It ain't tied to my human family. And if I was going to tie it to anyone, it'd probably be my human family. But they may not act right. They may not treat you right. David said, when my mother and father forsakes me, your human family may not act right. They didn't do it for David. That means, let me tell you, act right. When I say act right, they invite everybody but you. They invited everybody to the anointing but David. But he kept growing out in the field. Why? Conditions weren't favorable for growth, but it didn't stop David from loving God. He didn't blame anyone. And when God needed a king that could kill Goliath, did God get in them big old muscle fellows that daddy brought to the meeting that looked like they could do the part? Jesse, he said to Jesse, look, the oil ain't coming out. I can't get the oil to come out on these fellas. Do you have one more son? I don't know if that story don't resonate with you. The oil, see, it ain't going to flow to the right people. You say what you want. It's not going to flow until the right person get underneath. So David was out in the field. Right. Father didn't even think enough to hire a servant to work out in the fields because I want all my boys in.
Yes, God.
When my mother and father forsakes me, they don't think that you're going to be much. They looked at you the day you were born, and all the conditions said you. I don't see how he gonna make it. He ain't got an education. He didn't study when he was in school. He doesn't have a career. All of these things are not favorable for you, for it's culturally sufficient for people. But ain't nothing gonna happen until you get in there, until the right person get in there.
Yeah,
because the oil is waiting. And at some point, God will move it all. And then he said, David, he said, just go get, you got one more son? Yeah, he's out in the field. He little old lad he was. He said, go get him. And when David walked under there, when David walked on that bottle, you see what uniqueness does? You see what dominion? David became anointed as king. Didn't take over right away because it took time. God was preparing him out there to do it in here when it was ready. And that's another thing you learn about it. You're not going to get passed over if you don't worry about being with the crowd. Because when God he'll pull you from Texas and bring you where he wants you to be. He won't forget about when it's time to promote you.
Glory to God. Thank you.
But we get so caught up with all of the others. Just keep making goals. I keep growing. I keep doing. Because my favorite phrase is, when preparation meets opportunity, you won't get ready. Yeah. You'll what?
You'll be ready.
You'll be ready. Yeah. But most folks are still getting dressed. You know why? Because they weren't preparing for an opportunity. They had no goals set. Realistically. Couldn't see nothing. I don't worry about it. I just keep going. Just keep, because after a while, opportunity gonna present itself. And you ain't gonna be like everybody else. You can tell when people didn't prepare themselves. Because when opportunity pop, they acting like everybody. I'm gonna run it like everybody else been running. You didn't prepare yourself. Preparation with God is you just stay with him, walk with him, because you shouldn't want to run it like everybody else. Can't you see what everybody else? If you run it like everybody else, you're going to get what everybody else got.
Yes, God.
It's time to do what God wants done now and do it the way he wants it done. Preparing yourself, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic. What is it? How many people we can honestly say we know what heaven wants done? If you had to put a number to it. How come it can't be us? Right. How come when they run into this group, they said, these folk know what God wants done. But it ain't but 3 or 4 or 5 of them. And he didn't say it had to be a large number. Jesus was just one. Right. And Isaiah wrote that one man did more than any. One man changed the whole world. Just one man. I'm going to stop right there. That's it for the goal setting.
Thank you, God.
I can get you this information if you want it.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Shoot you an email, shoot you whatever. But that's how I done. My daughter helped me with these when I went back there that year. And it's like, send me that acronym. I love this specific, measurable, attainable, realistic set of time. Now you take that information and put it to anything you want done in your life. Anything. I'm gonna buy a car.
What's
Specific?
car?
What kind of car? When you gonna get that car? How I'm gonna get that car? Is it Is it possible? Is it realistic?
Realistic. How much time you need to get it?
How much time do I need? Do I need a year? Do I need another year? I'm gonna get that house. How much time do I need? Is it realistic? Now that I know this, with man it's impossible. I mean, with man it's impossible.
Yeah.
With God,
It's impossible.
all things. Man, I'm sitting there saying, now you ain't gonna tell me I can't have it no more, because I know you don't own it either. The only thing that tells me I can't have it is God saying that ain't where I want you.
That's right.
Cause I'm gonna tell I ain't just blowing smoke at you this moment. You can't tell me you think you own it, but you don't own it either. I know somebody. I know the real owner. So the only reason I stopped saying I'm not gonna get that because he's saying that ain't where I want you. That ain't what I want you to have. It ain't because I don't believe I ain't got no faith. No, I just believe that ain't where you want me. Because if that's where you want me, I don't care who has their hand on it. The earth belongs to him. I'm sorry. And I'm just crazy that way now. And the older I get, the more I realize.
Yeah.
I know what I want. And it helps me to love people. It helps you to walk with a good attitude about life, about people, about things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
True. That's true.
We'll get back into Kingdom Teaching next week. We're going to open our books, chapters 1 through 3. Any questions? What is that? Rediscovering the Kingdom?
That's what I'm doing right now.
We're going to get back in there.
Getting back in it.
And we're going to teach some more out of that.
And I thank God for it.
Thank you for joining me today. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.